This is Too Many Words with Jayme Bedingfield. Welcome to the show. What's up, guys? How's it going? What's new? I have HM Jones on a little bit. We're going to chat about what's new, what we're doing, and other stuff. I like talking to Hannah, and I'm happy she's coming on. I know she's working on the prequel to Monochrome, Fade to Blue, so we'll have to ask her how that's going. But yeah, midweek here. I honestly can't tell if this week is kicking my ass or if I'm kicking it. Got a lot of projects going on, a lot of inputs. My hands are in a lot of pots. What is up? What are you doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I kind of know. I've been working a lot, but at the same time, I've been making an extra effort, like I've been talking to you about. I've been, you know, blocking off time where I'm just with the family. I've been taking my phone and leaving it in my office, and it's kind of wonderful and awful all at the same time. But no, it's going good. I've picked up breakdancing. Not something that other people will see, but in the spirit of hobbies that are outside of the written word, I've been, listening to the music that I usually write to, the bassy shimmer and vibe, the songs that would be found on the shimmer and vibe playlist on Spotify. Um, yes, so I've been breakdancing. I'm learning to breakdance. I danced for many years as a kid. Not always a decision that I would have made, but yeah, I was put through the whole dance thing. But the fun, like the breakdancing, that's fun. That's not. It's good stuff. So yeah, and I've been playing WoW successfully on Worlds of Warcraft with my husband. I'm not naturally good at having fun, um, doing things just for the sake of doing them. I'm like the productive robot. Like, what will this accomplish? Uh, Yikes. But yeah, so I've been. I think we're on level 15 undead. Um, Good stuff. And it's kind of funny because the quests, even though we're collecting bear hides and slaying Knoll, it's task based. So I feel like that helps me, and it's fun. Fun is good. I'm excited. So Saturday, the first 5 episodes of Elliot Granger and the Clueless Brigade, the podcast, will be available on iTunes, Stitcher, and possibly a few other spots. So stay tuned for that. But and you can read Elliot on my blog and on Wattpad. The first 5 chapters. The 5th chapter will be posted this Friday. But it's been fun producing that and putting that together. And Elliot Granger, I think she's pretty cool. I think we can all learn a lot from her. So I'm excited to I'm excited to share it. It's funny creating things to share with you guys. It's first, like, oh my gosh, it's finally ready. I'm going to share with everybody. The day has come. And then it's out. Right. The thing that I've been whittling away at in the dark is out for the world. And then it's like, oh man, everybody's gonna read that or listen to that. And it's funny. It's a funny combination. The same thing for, reviews. I love reviews. I rely on them. I need them. And then, somebody will be like, oh, I'm reading this. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And they're like, "Oh, I really like it." And then part of me wants to just be like, "Oh, if you like it, leave a review." And then another part of me just kind of wants to just give them a hug. Um, this week, man, I don't know. It's funny because moods, they go up and down, and there's some days where I'm like, I'm awesome, I'm doing everything that I need to be doing, and other days, I feel like I'm failing at everything. Some days a mix in between. Writing is a rewriting. It's, you know, I used to be, you know, a lot of years ago, I was under the impression that when I would write something, it was instant brilliance. and I'd get really frustrated when I'd read it back, and it was clearly not instant brilliance. And they call it a craft for a reason. You come up with this idea which has stemmed from a bunch of just various inspirations or feelings that have accumulated, and then we have this idea, this raw idea, and over time we flesh it out and it goes from an idea to a story. And at that point, it's taking that story and taking it from this simple, doesn't seem the right way to describe it, but take it from this element that it is a story, but then you have to continue to change things and grow things. And I'm doing that right now with the YA contemporary, the original draft. I had done during NaNoWriMo month, and it's the project that I've been shopping around, and I'm currently in the process of doing a content edit on it. And there's a couple of things that I'm changing around, and I'm really excited for this next phase of this project. I've I'm taking some things, and I'm moving them around. And honestly, it's like you have a brick path that's been overgrown by grass. I use this because I have a brick path in my yard that's covered in grass, which is funny because where I actually want the grass is dirt, but that's besides the point. So you have this brick path that's covered in dirt. I mean, covered in grass. And you have to pull the grass away to see the brick, but then there's layers of dirt to move around and clean off until you actually have the brick in the form that you want it. At least that's what I'm assuming. Like I said, my path is full. But I'm using this to explain, finding a story and kind of how that happens. And for those of you that do it, where you're like, oh, what is she talking about? I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm tired. It's been busy. It's been exciting. There's some things. There's some things I can't tell you guys about yet, but as soon as I can, I will. And I think it's turning out to be a long day. I was looking at my day today, and I was like, well, oh, Jake. I was like, well, I'm not sure how all that's gonna happen, and then actually became pretty close to being able to check everything off my endless to-dos and constantly growing projects. I think one of my favorite things about writing books is the fact that I control everything within those pages. And in reality, that is not the case. I can't control other people's actions. I can't control how other people raise their children, which honestly, sometimes I wish I could. How you treat your children matter. Not only just how you treat your children, that's how they're most likely to treat other people. How they see you treating other people is also a big deal. So, being shitty to other people and insulting people, as just a way of dealing with others. That is what the child is learning. Is making room for happiness is something that I've been thinking about a lot. It's something that I'm currently writing a piece for. Speaking of which, shout out to Feminine Collective. They featured a piece of mine this past Saturday. Mermaids in Neverland, Our Culture of Hate. So definitely go to the Feminine Collective and check that out. Good stuff. It's funny to go from completely like chill and awesome 1 minute and just frustrated with everything the next. And I have my dogs in the room at the moment, so I don't know if something is going to come up, but I'm not going to kick them out of the room right now. The unexpected, the frustrated, the perplexed, the surprise moments. Surprise is good, especially when they're good surprises. I like knowing what to expect. I like my schedules. I like my calendars. I write it in pen because I know if I put it on my calendar, I'm going to do it. I've got a lot on my plate right now. I'm not complaining. I like it. I like it that way, honestly. But, there's because of all the hours I'm working right now and the kids and, that husband of mine and the house and the dogs. I mean, I have 3 dogs and 2 of them are under 2 years old. So I have my hands full, and I mean, I like a full life. I put this together that way. That being said, especially given the fact how high strung I am most of the time, some days I'm just like, pulling my hair out and running around ragged from one thing and next. And this week has been kind of intense in that regard. We've got kids' activities starting up. I have a lot of projects that I've kind of been, I've been kind of slowly rolling them out. And this week is kind of like a big week as far as all that stuff is concerned. And um, it's just intense. And Kevin definitely gets husband points for helping me handle it all. I've, I'm a handful. I have, so the immensely powerful is with my editor right now, Ruby. And my editor, Katrina, she was on the show about a month ago now. That's crazy. But yeah, so she's checking things out. I'm gonna get that back in a couple weeks, and I'm excited to see what we find and make progress and all that stuff. And um, it's funny to go. I go quick, so quick from being really excited to just being like, oh, this is just all a mess. What am I doing? What the hell did I write there? What's that character's name? What was I thinking? And then, in the very next breath, I can be like, oh man, that's the best thing I ever wrote. That's the best show I put on. This is all the best. Last week, I think I watched last week's the 100 episode 3 times, maybe. That's so good. That show right now, it is just hitting all the buttons, which is good because The Walking Dead is not giving me new episodes at the moment. So I need some sort of show. I mean, that thing that you look forward to every week. You have your characters that you care about. In the 100, I mean, I'm not going to give any spoilers. They're pretty. Some of my favorite characters aren't there at the moment, but one of my favorite characters is Octavia. So, do you watch that show? If you do, I'd love to hear about it. Definitely hit me up. I'll always talk about that show. What do you think, guys? I've got some mugs in the works, too many word mugs, and Elliot Granger and the Clueless Brigade mugs. Mugs are good. Coffee, I recommend it. I have a Keurig, and I was actually super against this for a while. And not because of, I mean, I don't think any real reasons. I just didn't like the idea of it. And I mean, it is wasteful and but it comes in different colors. Anyway, my husband, Kevin, let's just call him Kevin, he brought it home, and I was very flustered by the screen and the commands at first, and then it sunk in like I can make coffee by pushing a button. And yeah, that works for me, especially in the morning when I'm like staggering through the house, like, morning. What? Something that I'd like to touch on is that when the light is red, the traffic light, we're talking about road stuff now. We're talking about driving, cars. The one of the only things, not one of the only things, but a major thing that gets me from 0 to 60 in less than 2 seconds. When the traffic light is red and there is no sign that says no turn on red, that means that if there's space and you have the opportunity to make a right hand turn while the traffic light is red, go ahead and do it. It's okay. It does not mean lay on your horn behind someone who has the right blinker on and isn't throwing themselves into steady traffic. That makes me crazy. And that happened to me the other day. And it took all of me to just not sit there for many traffic lights. A younger me would have done that. A younger me has done that. But I'm maturing. Yeah. So at least that's what I'm claiming. What does everybody say? I think it's time to bring Hannah on. So after this note, well, you know what I was thinking today, Hannah? You were officially one of my favorite people.
Oh,
How's it going?
oh, pretty good. Yeah, been one of those weeks where everything was kind of a crapshoot, but it's coming to an end. So that's good.
You're having one of those weeks too?
Yeah, I think there must be something in the air. Maybe it's the pollen messing everybody up.
Interesting. Yeah. Honestly, I've kind of just wanted to smack my head against the wall throughout the week.
Yeah, it's been a hard week, and I don't know if this helps sometimes, but like I see a lot of other posts that are similar, and I don't know if that's because I'm having a hard week and I'm just like, oh yeah, everybody else is having a hard time too, or if it's just really one of those weeks. Somebody said something about one of my friends said something about the cycles of the moon and how it was going to be off, like Mercury's in retrograde. Now I don't know anything about that stuff, but she called it. It was a terrible week.
Interesting. I don't know anything about that kind of stuff either, but I do wonder, like, because like, yeah, I'm hearing that too, because I'm having one heck of a week, and then I'm talking to other people, and they're like, this week. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's a weird one, but it's coming to an end, thankfully. So,
Well,
how's your week been? I shouldn't ask.
it's been a whole lot of crazy. I don't know. So last week my kids were on spring break,
Yeah.
and I was attempting to do the whole be awesome adventure mom during the day and be super productive work lady at night. And
No.
I I did it, honestly. I think I succeeded, but I think the backlash is this week. I'm kind of like, oh, I'm so
Yeah.
tired.
Yeah. No, I think that you can't do everything good and not be just completely worn out at the end of the day. We aren't super people.
It's rocking takes its toll.
It does. And it's sometimes I feel like you can only be really, really, really super good at one thing. And if you try to do that with so many things, you will mess up with one of those things eventually. I think with spring break it's a little bit different, but in the summer I find that I try to be really great and also really entertaining for my kids and everything else, and I get pretty worn out and pretty burnt out quickly that way.
Yes, I summers tend to be like that here too. I don't know. Well, last summer I also had a puppy litter, so I mean, hopefully this summer just a little bit
Yeah, that could
less.
be a little harder. That's like having three babies.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was crazy. Amazing. Life changing, but crazy.
Yes. Yeah, it's a good crazy.
I've been working, and I've been working on a new project, although I technically shouldn't be working on it for like another 2 months because there's other things that need my attention.
But that's what you want to do.
Yeah,
You want to
well,
work on this
so
project.
yes, it's my first high fantasy full length
Fun.
novel, and world building is
Ooh.
so much fun.
Yes, it is. It's a lot of fun. That's one of my favorite things to do is build a completely new world. I mean, usually there's these hints of reality in it, but I love world building. It's one of my favorites.
This is the
You get to kind of think of everything.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
and I love control of everything. So
Yeah.
it's awesome. I'm having so much fun. So even though I'm not technically supposed to be working on it yet, um,
You know what? I have that too. I'm supposed to be writing Fade to Blue, and I'm really sorry for the people listening to this who are excited about that. Because I am. I am writing that, but I have three other short stories that are really like in the forefront of my brain too, so I'm working on all of them, and I have to say my progress is a little slower because of that.
well,
So I'm being naughty.
juggling projects to me, I think, is how I manage to do it at all. Because I mean,
Yeah.
there's highs and lows with like, I don't know, feeling attached to the character, but also at the
Hmm.
same time, just like, moods are different. And when you write things in all different moods, it's great for me.
Yeah.
I'll work on something for 30 minutes and then I'll jump onto something completely different. And
Yeah. Me too. And sometimes I'm in a blogging mood, sometimes I'm in a poetry mood, sometimes I'm in a be silly and write my young adult mood, things like that. And I think you're right. There's these certain feelings you get, and you kind of want to go with that because it's more enjoyable to write if you're
yes,
doing the thing you want to be doing at that time.
well, fighting against like not being naturally into it. I mean, that can affect your writing,
Mhm.
honestly. I know with me, like I'll kind of be like, okay, well, I set out to do this. I'm not feeling it, but I'm going to work through it. And then I read it back. I'm like, what
Mhm.
the heck? What was
What
that?
was I thinking? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can still write okay. I mean, especially Fade to Blue. It's such a compelling story, and I like it when I'm writing it. It's also a very hard story. It's about major depressive disorder, and so sometimes I'm not in a good place anyway. So I'm like, I'm gonna skip writing that today and write something happier for my own sanity type thing. So there's the other place that I'm at. I'm just like, it's a good story, and I'm actually not feeling like being depressed by my story right now. And it has some really uplifting moments too, but I'm not there yet.
And I honestly, I
So
was
yeah,
wondering about that with Fade to Blue because, like, I know writing characters who are dark and in a dark mindset, it can be trying as a
yeah,
person that's trying. Sometimes like I
yeah.
find myself like gearing up to kind of like get into a place that's like ready to write that. It's like,
Mhm.
why don't you just enjoy your happy mood and write something
Yeah,
happy?
yeah. And I mean, I listen to certain music when I'm writing it to get the mood right, and because I'm that type of feeling person, it affects me too. So yeah, I think that it's good because I can get into that mindset. I can understand who he is, and I think he's a really real character because of that. Also because of that, I pick my times to write him.
Well, yeah, it's sometimes like the whole like less is more, knowing like when and when not to work on certain things.
Yeah,
I'm trying to navigate that right now, and it can be helpful.
it is, and I think that it's okay. I mean, I try to write something, even if it's just a sentence. I try to write a sentence a day in that project because that is my project that I want to get done before the year. And I gave myself a pretty big deadline for a reason. I wanted it to be a good project. I didn't want to rush it. People are expecting it to be good too, which is different because no one knew me before I wrote Monochrome. So
It's
that adds
funny.
another layer.
It's funny how that's different, isn't it?
It is.
You know,
Uh, AC just asked me, is it harder to write this AC Fuller from the anonymous source? He asked me, do you think it's harder to write the second one? And I have to say, absolutely, it is.
oh yeah, um, it definitely is. Uh, and I went into book two of the Ruby Dawson saga and being like, I have all these characters already. I know like it's
Mhm.
gonna be so much easier, and it's like, oh wait.
Yeah, there's different expectations, and yeah, I don't know. And as you start marketing as an author, there's also those expectations to not only write what you're writing, but also blog about it and share about it and get the word out too. And I didn't do that with my first book. I just kind of put it out there and then did the marketing and stuff.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. And so, and now I have fans who want to know what's going to happen, which is great. And who want to know where I'm at. And I'm always embarrassed to tell them. I'm still on chapter 9, guys. Sorry. I'm not anymore. I'm on chapter 13, but for a while I was stuck on chapter 9, and I kind of, some people keep asking. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. That's where I'm at right now. I'm sorry. But they know. I mean, I think I'm very good natured about it. I'm like, I know you want this, but I know you also want to read something crappy, so I'm just going to take my time.
Totally. Well,
So, but yeah, it's a different expectation.
well, and I also think, like, I mean, for me personally, like, having already known the characters, there's like a certain amount of like, you have to take care with them, knowing them already. It's
Yeah.
different than creating them for the first time.
Well, you already set up expectations in your first book, and I don't know if you're like this, but sometimes I forget what I said.
Oh, yes.
And so it's also researching your own work, which is hilarious because then I start reading chapters. I'm like, oh, I don't like that chapter.
Yes.
I'm such an ass about my own work. I'm like, wow, I could have written that sentence better. But I am like that. So,
Totally. Honestly, I made myself like sick to my stomach when I was so book two of Ruby. It takes place immediately after the first one stops.
yeah.
So I was like, reading the ending of Highly Capable over and over again, like just trying to like get in that mood. And I'm like, I was
Mhm.
making myself crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I started picking apart things, that I did a lot in the first one, things that I did really well and things that I want to improve upon too. And I wouldn't say it's hurting things. I think, the end product will be good because I'm really researching it, but I'm making myself a little bit crazy. So it'll get there. But yeah, so just if anyone's listening who's really concerned about how Fade Blue is going, it is coming. And what I have written is very good.
Oh, I bet.
But it is harder to write the second one. You're researching your own self.
Yes.
And honestly, I look at it, it was 6 years ago that I finished that manuscript. So
Oh, wow.
that makes sense to me. I mean, it took a long time to get steam for it. And then people wanted it to be something else. Like they wanted more when I didn't expect it. So I had to reread it, and it was like reading it again because I had put it aside for a long time. So I think that's it too. It's just like there's this big gap between when I first wrote it and now. So yeah, that's interesting.
That is interesting. I mean, I had a little bit of a gap. I mean, I had a big gap like that too, but when I went back in, I ended up so much of it ended up being rewritten that I became so I have less of an excuse basically. I should remember certain details.
Nah, I don't know. I think mom brain is a valid excuse at any time. You have to think, let's see, how many kids do you have?
I have two.
Yeah, I have two too. Uh, and mine are still kind of little. They're 5 and 3.
Oh,
So
okay.
but even not, like, as they change, their responsibilities are different, but you're always so tied into their responsibilities as a parent.
Yeah.
So I think mom, I would call it dad brain too, depending on, who is the parent who's with them all the time. For me, it's mom brain because I'm with them a lot. And so their responsibilities trump anything else that I'm supposed to remember. I will remember to feed them, what to put in their lunch, what to do this and this and this. And I will forget to send my blog to this person or forget to do something for myself, like brush my teeth or eat.
Well,
And
so
so I think that's part of it too.
3 and 5 is actually. I mean, you're still quite in the thick of it, actually.
Yeah, they're starting to be able to entertain themselves now, which is why I'm getting
Hmm.
more things done. But I think I must have been an insane person because I wrote monochrome. I guess it wouldn't have been 6 years ago. It would have been when Claire was little. So no, okay, it was 2013. So that was 3.5 years ago
Okay.
ish. Still, and she was little, and my son was a baby. And so I wrote that when I was at home breastfeeding pretty much and just kind of lost and had really bad postpartum depression. I think it's easier to write now because, I don't have a baby under me all the time, but it's still a different kind of challenge. I'm wondering how people with older children think if it's worse or if it's easier or what. I don't know.
I would say it's different. So yeah, so mine are so I have 6 and 8.
Yeah.
And my son, who is the 6-year-old, this is his first. This is he's just in kindergarten,
Yeah.
so this is a new phase for us.
Hmm.
And I was writing pretty heavy. I started kicking this whole off thing when he was about 1.5. So
Yeah,
it's a good time, very emotional time.
it is.
It's good to pour it into something.
It's a very creative, I found it to be a very creative time. For one, I really had to focus on caring for them, and I needed an outlet that wasn't about that.
Yes.
And I think that's part of what made monochrome work so well because it was a perfect outlet for that. But yeah, and I think you still need that even as they get older, but it's a little bit less like that. Even now, I feel like, oh, they're going away from me a little bit, and so it's less. Oh, I'm doing everything, and they need me all the time. It's more like Mama sort of doesn't want to lose that
Yeah.
now.
And then
It's a funny thing, but yeah, it is a good creative outlet to kind of pour that into that.
it is a funny thing. I know I'm like purely on homework duty these days. It feels like homework, they
I
come.
wasn't good at homework when I did it.
Oh,
It's always my excuse. I was never good at homework when I had to do it. Oh, okay, let's see what we
it's
got.
intense.
Yeah.
So my second grader, she's got like an hour and a half of homework a night, and then nights that she has soccer, it's just purely corralling and then bed. So like on the weekend, I really try to soak it up with them.
Yeah, it seems like a full-time job. And here the kindergartners have to go all day, and I thought that was so intense for a 5-year-old.
Yep. So that's how it is here too.
Okay. I wondered if it was just district or if it was statewide, because I feel like that's crazy to make a 5-year-old do that, and then also we get homework for them. I have to tell you, I'm a little bit crappy about getting the homework done because I'm all like, "What? They're 5." And I kind of like said that to the teacher, and she laughed and seemed to agree with me. It's like I forgot about the homework, but they're 5. I don't know. I was like, that's a lot to expect from a tiny person who's supposed to be playing most of the day, from my point of view.
Well, and then after like such a long day, I mean, it's such a
Yeah.
day. Um, yeah, I mean, so my son, his birthday was right after the cutoff, so he started kindergarten when he was like 6 on the nose.
Yeah.
So as far as like kindergarten transfer, him getting into all the work and stuff, as opposed to
Hmm.
my daughter, who is good 7 months younger, there's a big difference.
Hmm.
As far as getting used to the all day.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think even a 6-year-old, I could see him handling it a little better, but it's just a long day. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's crazy
Well,
stuff.
6 hours
This
is just long.
education.
I'm
It is.
By the time I hit 3 o'clock, I'm like done.
I know. I get a lot of calls from the school around too. And my thing is, well, yeah, it's a long day for a 5-year-old. I can come and get her. I would honestly would come every day and get her early because I know how she's gonna be. She's gonna be tired by the end of the day.
Yeah, it is. It's a big. Oh, so I guess so. Your oldest is this is her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's in kindergarten. She's 5 and she's in kindergarten.
That's a huge transition for the family, the oldest into kindergarten. That was a big deal for us.
Yeah, it's been a challenging year, and I'm considering. I don't know. I'm considering. I'm like I could probably just teach her here, but then of course, I do most of my writing when they're also at school, so that would be a pretty big sacrifice.
Yeah.
My fans probably would hate it. Like, Hannah, why aren't you writing so much? I don't know. She's pretty good at entertaining herself at home, but I was like, should I just teach her? But I don't know. I think we'll give it another year.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm a teacher, so I mean,
oh, well, there you go. I
it's
mean, because I couldn't even. I
yeah,
I did homeschool preschool for my son because that was the right, just the right thing for us.
right.
But I feel like I've topped off there. I feel
Hmm.
bad helping my daughter with math homework because I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I teach college, so it's a little bit different. Obviously, you have these people who come in who pretty much know how to put sentences together and things like that. At the same time, I've always planned my own classes and things like that, so I think I could do a fine job of it. I'm just not sure if it's the right thing to do. So,
Totally.
but I am a good teacher. I know that much. I don't know if I want
And
to be a good
humble.
teacher all day. I'm never humble about what I'm good at.
That's a good way to
No.
be. I didn't realize. So you you teach college currently?
I do. Yeah, I teach writing. I teach English 101, English 102, which are different forms of composition writing and research writing.
That's awesome. I had no idea. You must be a kick-ass writing teacher. I'm gonna
I
agree
think
with
they think
that.
I'm entertaining.
I would imagine you.
I
I
think
get
I'm
so
known as the hard ass, which is funny. Uh, Not about like writing style, but like you have to be in my class, and if you miss more than 3 classes, you fail. And
Oh,
so, yeah, and it's because we do a lot of our work in class. And I just told them, in life, if you keep missing work, you'll get fired. Here, you'll just fail.
yep,
And I stick to that pretty firmly. And because they're adults, not much they can do about it after they take the class,
yeah,
so except drop it. But I find that everybody rises to the challenge and they have a good time. And I have a pretty, we have a lot of fun. I love teaching writing. And
that's
honestly, it's nice for me because a lot of the students come to me and say, I thought that I didn't like English. I realized I just didn't like the classes that I took before. And that makes it all worth it because as I'm an adjunct, a faculty adjunct. And so as an adjunct, you get paid next to nothing. And so really you do it because you like to teach. And I do. I love it.
That's awesome. Well, it's probably a really, I mean, it's a subject matter that I could talk endlessly about. So it's probably also a really cool outlet in that way as well.
Yeah, and I get to look at a different aspect. Um, I get to look at it from a beginner's aspect. Okay, how do I describe how to do these things? And what I found out is like when we're covering descriptive writing or when we're covering how to do dialogue or covering poetry, I learn more about what I could do better, just teaching people how to do it better.
Totally.
So it's learning by doing and teaching. And that's pretty great because we had this like thing where I was trying to dissect how you make a really powerful sentence. And all of a sudden it just occurred to me, well, you could just change the verbs and it would be much more powerful. And I do that all the time in my writing, but I never thought about explaining it that way. And I said, let's just change the verbs. Let's not add any descriptors. Let's just change the verbs in the sentence so that we can convey sadness. And so we just took a simple sentence. He walked to the door. And so they said, oh, he slogged to the door. Oh, he skipped to the door. And they were changing these words and realizing how dynamic a sentence, just a simple sentence, could be if you just change that one word. And it gave them this kind of powerful feeling. So when I gave them the next sentence, I said, now you can add other things. You can change other words. And they just had the most fun. And one of the people, like I said, I didn't think I liked English, and I realized I do. I was just learning it a way that didn't make sense to me, and this makes sense to me. You just change one word, and that means dramatically different thing. So yeah, isn't that the neatest thing about English? It can just really be so important and so interesting if you let it be.
That's awesome. That's
So
really
I really like that.
cool exercise.
Yeah, it's a fun exercise. Like, change this and make it sad. But you can't be just like, oh, it's sad. So just change one word. Change that one verb. How do you make it sad? And it was pretty hilarious, the sentences that they came up with. And it was so funny, actually, that we had to, like, close our door because the rest of the college was disturbed by us. So that's the kind of classes that I teach, the loud ones, unfortunately.
Nice. Mr. Holland opening it.
Yeah, I also often play loud music and ask them to dissect this and this and this and do analyze this and teach things through, analysis of things like music and things like that. And so I find that my class is usually the noisiest. So that's okay though; they have fun.
I would have fun.
Yeah, I told my husband the other day, I was like, I'm really awfully good at the things I do, but I'm awfully good at things that don't make that much money. I'm glad that you're so much better at making money than I am because I have a really good time in life, but I never pick the things that make money. And that's pretty much my life story.
Yeah, you know, I know something about that as well. And yeah.
Coming out even most days. Oh well.
So you went to you've been to a convention since the last time we talked, right? NorwestCon?
Yeah. Yep.
How was that?
It was amazing. I met the coolest people. So this is the first time I actually decided to sit down after the panels and sell books. And I was flying solo because I just didn't rope anyone else into it. I didn't even think about having a table partner to help when I was at panels, and I had like 6 panels.
Oh,
And
okay.
I just befriended this other author whose work just spoke to me, and he just sat at the table and helped me like no reason, just because. It's like, okay, I talked you up and sold 2 books, which was amazing.
That's
And then
awesome.
the best thing was just making relationships like that. I got to know him and his books, and he talked to me. Oh, I have a small press, and will you write a short story for it? So now I have 3 short stories in the works from just meeting people there.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, and just finding that outlet. So a lot of it was just about finding people whose writing and whose interests really mesh with mine and whose personalities mesh with mine as well. I got to write a little tiny little short for his zine, um, for the actual con, and so I had a short story in the con brochure, which was fun. And I had fans, which I didn't realize, and they came to see me. and were really excited about being at my table. And I tried to talk them down, like I'm not anybody, and you're really excited for no reason, and they would not have it. So that was pretty weird.
Why are you trying to talk them down?
I didn't want to
Don't
break
be
their
excited.
didn't want to break apart their expectations. They're like, "Are you Jim Jones?" I'm like, "Yes." And they're like, "The one who wrote Monogram?" I'm like, "Mm-hmm." And they're like, "That's awesome." I was like, "Well, it's all right." I don't know how to approach that.
Fun.
Yeah, that's me. And they're like, "Can you sign my book?" I'm like, "You have my book." So I might have broke their hopes apart. They just thought I was silly. I signed their books. I did an autographing, and that was fun. And I sat by a cool person there too, and I bought her books. She was just so amazing. So I actually bought more books than I sold probably, which is saying something. I did okay. But I really like the panels. We talked about the strong heroine and whether it was a cliche and how to write a heroine in a good way. And I liked that panel quite a bit. And I found that it was just really uplifting. A lot of what was said is there's no one right way to write a heroine, and you're never going to please everybody. And to be worried about the cliches instead of worried about how developed your character is the flaw, because there's always going to be critics. So
Right.
calling your heroine this or heroine that, or she's doing this wrong or she's doing that wrong, or this isn't the right thing to say about this woman. When really you should be concerned with, is this person a detailed individual? Can this person just function and stand on their own without any help?
That sounds like an awesome panel.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then there was
That's
there was
awesome.
on a rejection. Dejection was probably the funnest one to be on. We talked about how we deal with rejection when we, submit to different publications, and that was a really fun one. One of the other panelists brought up the fact that she just listens to the song. I don't know if you know Flight of the Conchords.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Murray in the second or third season, I think it's the third season, has a song called Rejected, and she
Yeah.
listens to that song every time she gets a rejection letter to cheer herself up because it's hilarious.
I'm gonna totally do that next time I open my inbox and I'm like, damn it.
Rejected.
Yes.
Yes, and so when she was saying that, I automatically felt better. And I was like, you know what? As sad as rejections are, if I listened to that song, I probably would feel better too. So there's just really good advice there. But the other things that they talked about was just consistent, performance to keep writing, and a lot of persistence. And I think that was the thing that we all agreed on is no matter how many times you get rejected, if you're going to be a writer, you have to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
You
Totally.
have to keep practicing, and you have to keep your head up and understand that that is something that everybody goes through and that you will eventually get there.
Yeah. Well, and
So yeah, that was fun.
that's awesome. And that is so true about rejections. I've actually recently I've been getting a lot of just messages from different listeners talking about how they're also, shopping things around and all that. And yeah, rejection, you just it's a good sign because it means that you're getting your stuff out there.
It is. I mean, it means that you're practicing your art, and the more you practice it, the better you're going to get.
Mhm.
And the more you get your name out there, the more it's going to kind of stand out. Another person said, I submitted 8 times to the same thing, the same place, and the ninth time I was picked up. It was the right thing
Mhm.
for whatever reason. I didn't take it personally. The 8 times that I sent it, I said, "Okay, I'm going to keep sending it. They'll pick up something," and they did. And it was a big publisher, and they just kept going. So they said resubmit to the same things,
Mhm.
not the same thing that you already submitted if they said no on it, but something different,
Mhm.
something that might fit their style better.
Yes.
So that was a nice thing to hear too, because sometimes I'm like, "Oh, they didn't like something that I've submitted already," and I get grumpy about it. Well, maybe that wasn't the right one.
Yeah.
So that was another nice thing to hear is, oh, keep trying, pretty much.
Mhm. No, totally. I've actually yeah, persistence.
Yeah, it does. It actually does pay off. I know that's silly cliche and it sounds annoying, but I also think that we're kind of impatient. Uh, as a society, generally
Oh,
speaking. I know as a person specifically, I'm a very impatient person, so it can feel more frustrating than it actually is. Most people don't succeed in whatever career choice they have until a decade after they've started that career. So
well, that's one heck of a sentence. But
I know.
Jesus, shit. Um, but
So
uh,
sorry, it might take you 10 years. Sorry.
no, but
It's
no.
jokes.
Well, it does. It takes time to. I always tell my kids, if it's worth it, it's going to take some time to achieve it.
It
So,
does. And it might not take a decade, but actually, when it comes to writers, I've done a lot of research and it often does.
yeah,
It takes upwards of 10 to 20 years to make a name for yourself as a writer. So persistence maybe pays off even more as a writer than it would in other fields. Though other fields, it's similar. You have to really make a name for yourself before you get tenure, before you get a promotion in any field that you're doing. So it's a lot about kind of paying your dues, and that's frustrating for people who want something right away.
well, and I definitely and you know how it is. You spend all this time, cultivating and creating the story, and then you put it out there. And I want
You want instant.
instant, confetti, honestly.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. Sometimes spend years on certain pieces. Maybe it's only 1 year, maybe it's only a couple months, but that's still a long time to spend with something.
Yeah.
It's probably, my books, besides my marriage, are the longest time I spend with anything.
Yes.
They are a lot of devoted attention. And I was writing about okay, so I did a guest post about blogging and why I liked it, and it's because of that instant gratification. My blogs always get instant likes, instant shares, instant comments, whereas for books it takes years to cultivate a following
Yes.
because they're longer, because they take more time and effort to put into them. And I get good feedback once people start reading them, but it takes a long time
Same here.
because
Yeah.
it's an effort to read a whole book.
Hmm.
Not for me, I mean, but I read a lot of books, but
Yeah, me too. But it's,
yeah,
there's so many to choose from, and
yeah,
getting yourself to kind of stand apart, to a point where your book, aside from other, it does take a while. And with as far as blogging, I had a terrible relationship with my blog until I realized I can, that instant, I put something out there and I get feedback and
hmm
I get more followers and stuff. It is, and then I'm
yeah.
like, okay, I can do this blog thing.
And for me, I write a lot of my more poetic, more emotional pieces on my blog. And because my fiction is that way too, it creates this connection where they're interested in my type of writing anyway.
Hmm.
And my blog isn't severely different from my fiction. It's very honest, it's very raw, it's sometimes a little bit too much. And my fiction is that way too. There's a lot of dark undertones, a lot of emotional undertones to it, and so it's kind of a natural jumping point for me. And so then if you like that kind of writing, by the way, and I eventually get blog followers who consistently comment, then who will become my readers, and so it does pay off. But at the same time, I just kind of like it. I can honestly be a little bit more honest in some of my blog posts than I can. My book isn't about that specific topic.
Uh-huh.
Can't go off on that. In a blog post, I can.
Yes,
So I kind of like that aspect of it too.
totally.
It's kind of like with podcasting.
Oh
You
my
can
gosh.
say what you mean.
Totally. No, I was just going to take it there too. And like podcasting is something that I've always wanted to do, or not always, but I've wanted to do it for a while. And um but I find myself looking forward to, me and the microphone and then me with my guest. And then
Mhm.
afterwards I've had this, it's like I've done all this sharing, and then I just don't need to worry about talking to people for a few days because I've got it.
'Cause it's overwhelming to talk every day to somebody.
Uh-huh.
You're pretty lucky. I don't even answer my phone. Like people think that I'm on. When my siblings see that I went on a podcast, I get the worst crap. I'm like, you haven't called me in a month. I'm like, I'm sorry.
I
You're
know.
also not very geeky, and it's kind of harder to talk to you.
I know. I had a family member was just like, so what is this? this thing that you're doing, I thought you wrote books. I was like, what? I still do that.
Hmm.
This is just something else.
And it's a weird something else for hermits to have. I feel like 'cause it's, oh, I'm going to talk on the phone, sort of, but it's not. But it's. I think it's because it's kind of like a con to me. Podcasting with other writers or other geeks, and you happen to be both of those things, so it's easier for you. Is easy because it's this kind of shared community where you have these underlying things that you already like, both of you, and so you have that kind of jumping point.
Mhm.
Whereas with phone conversations, you never know if those things are going to be shared. And so
Yes.
that's why I told my mom, it's more like a community of people who get me when I'm on the podcast.
Mhm. Yes, totally. Well, and it's interesting too, because like I find that people just share more with me, and it'll take me a second, and somebody who I only kind of know will just start talking to me about all this stuff that's going on in their lives, and I'm
Mm.
I'm just listening, and it's like, and then they'll hit a certain sentence. I'll be like, oh, okay, you're listening to my podcast.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's cool
Yeah.
because it in some ways it breaks down like the small talk stuff, because it's
It
like
does.
people know all sorts of crazy shit about me. Episode 7, I'm giving it all away. So
Come listen if you want to know my background. You don't. Too bad. I
listen.
told it to you anyway. Yeah, no, it's a fun sort of thing. I mean, a lot of the I've done podcasts with several different people, and I have to say, I always enjoy it. I feel like it's when someone invites me on, it's because we have something in common. Whether that one was for violence against women, another one was for this okay new writers and self publishing, and then indie publishing. And so, we always have this kind of shared thing, and you have readers who want that too because they obviously have that shared thing too. So it's nice to be able to kind of touch upon the subject you know are just going to fascinate other people as well.
Yeah, no, totally. Well, and then I've had a couple of listeners reach out and just tell me how it makes them feel good to hear how I'm all anxious about all this stuff, because
Oh
they're
yeah.
also anxious, and it's like, well, cool. I'm glad I could help.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to have that misery company when you're writing, knowing that you're not the only one suffering through your second draft. Like I know that when my friend reached out to me and asked me, "Is the second one as bad or worse?" It's worse, right? Worse. He needed to hear that it was worse, and it was. And I think it made him feel better. Does that mean? No. I like feeling better too about myself, not feeling like I'm so lost. When you have a community like that, you don't feel lost.
Oh,
So
totally.
the
Well,
moment he asked me that, I was like, yes, you're having a hard time too. I mean, I'm sorry.
I was so shocked about how the second book was so much harder. Um,
Yeah.
but no, well, and I think it helps for people to feel like they're not alone. So when you hear that people are feeling, or have similar hangups, it's like, okay, you know,
Yeah.
we can do this together.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I think that's kind of a comforting thought. Everybody needs a little bit of a comfort.
Oh, totally. Well, it's just everything's so
Writing's
overwhelming.
hard, guys.
It is. Oh, I know. I'm actually, to quote Gilmore Girls, I think my brain actually pinged earlier today.
My old roommate would just love that so much that you said that. Tanya Williams, here's a shout out to you, Gilmore Girls fanatic. Yeah, she would used to quote that exact thing to me all the time.
Oh, really? Well,
That's a perfect
Tanya,
quote,
you and I
actually.
are
That's what
cool.
it feels like. That's what it feels like.
Yes. Well, I've been, back to like all my different projects this week. I don't know what happened, but like all these things that I've reached out over time. Like this week is just like,
Yeah.
and it's good. I'm having fun, but like, yeah, I hit the wall today at some point, and I was just like,
Yeah, that wall comes pretty fast for me. I was manic this week. I'm bipolar, and I I manage it. I try to manage it without medication, just because the medication they gave me puts me to sleep when I'm supposed to be driving.
yeah,
Not good. So I'm manic this week, and I know when I'm manic because I can't stop doing. I'm a doer,
yeah,
um, and so. I cleaned the car thoroughly and my chicken coop and things that didn't need to be cleaned, my entire house. And then I got rid of 6 bags of things. And then I also decided I was going to keep running, start running again, and do these other things, and then have a tea party with my kids. And in between these things, I'm weaving. I weave with my husband, like just Coast Salish stuff.
I've seen some of the weaving that you posted. It's really cool.
Yeah, and these are the things that I did this week, all in a manic haze. I can't remember how I did them, and if you ask me next week when I'm probably not going to be manic, I will think I was a nut. And literally, I probably was a nut. But it's gonna hit the wall soon. I can tell. I'm tired. I'm very tired. But I did get a lot done this week. I got 2 chapters written and things like that. But it was just one of those weeks where I got a lot done, but it wasn't enjoyable.
Yeah. I've painted my entire house that way twice.
Yeah, that's a lot of tension. Like, wow, you're so productive. People tell me that all the time. You're so productive. I just want to tell them, I wish I wasn't sometimes. I wish I could just not be productive, for like be lazy.
I know, right?
I'm
It's
not.
I'm not either. And I've been struggling so much with like making myself stop and like enjoy life. And a couple of weeks ago, it came to a head whereas like I was just putting all of my energy and my focus on my work,
Hmm.
night, day, weekend. And it came to a point where I was like, okay, let's re
I'm not enjoying life right now.
yes.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to rest.
It's hard to stop when you've started something.
Yes, it is. It is.
Maybe not everybody, but yeah, I agree.
Well, and it's like, I don't know, for me for so long, writing and reading was just solely a hobby. And then as it became more and more, and now this year I write full time.
Hmm.
That is not always the best way for me to unwind at night if I've been working all day.
No, and honestly, I like that it's getting nicer out. I think it's going to start making me, I don't manage my time better with writing, because when it starts to get nice out in the Pacific Northwest, when the sun actually comes out and starts shining onto my things in my yard, I get the urge to be outside.
Uh-huh.
And so summer is actually a fairly productive time for me, but not in writing. And I find that I have to actually make myself do those things, and that my mania decides to like my guard instead of my writing, and that's okay. But I'd like to try to set myself a better timeline. I really would. I'd like to be like, okay, Hannah, you are going to get up at this time and write for this long. I don't care what you write, whether it be a blog or whatever, a story that you have to write, and then you can do whatever else you want. In the winter, it's the opposite. I want to only write and not do anything else.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I could, especially on those rainy, cloudy days, like give me some coffee and my computer and a playlist and just, let me chill.
Yeah, and I think I think that's we're made that way. I honestly think that we should hibernate. I feel like during the winter, nothing should happen except eating
Yes.
and writing.
This is the best sentence I've heard all week, Hannah. Yes. Let's do it.
Eating and
Let's start
writing
a
and getting
movement.
fat so that you're warm. And then in the summer, you can get unfat and do other things. I don't know, play
Yes.
in
Cultivate a
your yard.
garden,
Yeah,
build.
take care of chickens.
Hmm.
Do what you got to do. But I feel like we're more like bears than we know, and that we should hibernate more.
I think that's awesome. My
I
son
bet I
would
could
love
get a
that
following.
sentence. He loves bears.
Yeah. I think that I could get a following pretty easily on that one.
Oh, all right, sign me up. I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm in. I'm all in.
A lot of people will be like, "All right, yeah, let's just quit in the winter. Just stop
Yeah.
completely."
And every time you say winter, and I'm just thinking so much fleece,
Yeah, it's such a
fleece,
cozy time.
food, pie,
Why waste it?
stew.
Yeah, it's about good food, and I think that is biological. I think at one time we were lazy during the winter, and that we were fatter during the winter, and that now we're all trying to be so fit all year long. Give me a break. Winter is fat times. Winter is get out those sweatpants and the fleecy ones and be comfortable. It's not about It's not about anything else. I really believe that.
I
I was
completely believe that too.
I'm losing weight now because I'm doing. The winter time is very solitary for me in writing,
Hmm.
and I feel like it makes sense though. During the summer is the time where you get out and do things, and the winter can be that very dark place where I write Ishmael's story because it is a lot sadder and a lot more gloomy, and it just feels right. I promise to get it finished before the winter, guys. That wasn't an excuse,
For some
anybody.
reason now I really want a chili dog and a piece of apple pie.
Right? I want something
Keep
warm to
talking
drink.
about winter and food and now I'm starving.
I made myself cold, actually. I'm a little shivery right now. That's the power of words, there, guys. Did you did you
Nice.
feel it?
I feel it.
Oh, good. That wasn't my best writing. I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea.
That's awesome. I've been my son for a few years was super into Pokemon, which
Yeah.
was something that I was really excited about because
Oh yeah.
I was really into Pokemon as a kid.
I love Pokemon.
And I knew
I wasn't a kid. I was in high school.
well, I say
Sorry.
kid, I don't know exactly. It was present and I loved it. But
Hmm.
uh but now he's told me I'm not into Pokemon anymore and I like Yokai Watch. And I'm like, well, I don't know what any of these creatures are. So he
I don't
sat
know.
me down today and he's like had me watch the first episode of Netflix and he's like, you'll get the backstory. And and it's actually really cool. It's just,
Awesome.
spirits
Hmm.
that are actually a lot like gremlins and they cause trouble for people.
Nice.
But I was watching the show with him and I was thinking like how cool cuz like being into stuff's really fun. And then
Hmm.
like with kids, you kind of like you get to see all their interests and get into it. It's like,
You remember how new it was for you when something like that happens.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Or even now, I mean like gosh, like you know, I think 3 or 4 months ago I started watching the 100
Yeah.
and I'm totally obsessed.
So I should start watching that when I finish the other show that I sometimes watch.
Yeah. So you're not watching? Yes, if you're not watching
No,
the
I'm
100.
not. Okay.
Oh my
Is it on Netflix?
yes, the first 2 seasons are, and the 3rd season is currently, on cable.
Okay.
It's so good.
I shall.
Octavia is off.
You're like the third person to tell me you have to do this, and I can't believe you haven't yet.
Okay, yeah. Well, the
I
3rd
try to tell people it's because I'm being productive, but that's a lie.
and honestly, don't like the first episode, it was one of those, like, it didn't get me right away. I'm like, "Nah, I don't know what this show's all about."
Hmm.
Don't judge it on the first episode,
I won't.
but
Cross my heart.
I love it. Yes. But
It
it's so fun to be into stuff. It's
is. That's so cute that he wanted to share that with you too. You can tell that he just trusts you with his stuff.
yeah.
That's neat.
Well,
That's his world, and he wants you to know.
he picked up on because he was asking me for this one thing and I was having trouble remembering the name of the character and we've had this Pokemon connection where it's like I can tell him all these different generations and stuff because it was something that I was into, so
Yeah.
I have all this history and he saw that it was bothering me that I didn't know the name of his favorite character, so
Sure.
it was yeah, it was cool.
I was like, so I'll help you, Mom.
Yeah.
I have to say though, those kinds of little passions that we get in the geek community, people are sometimes kind of flippant about them. But I have a cousin who he has Asperger's syndrome, and he has a hard time talking to anyone about anything. But I love Pokemon, and every time he comes to me and talks to me about Pokemon, he is so intelligent and so tuned in, and he's just a mini genius about the things that he loves. And it got this connection where he's comfortable with me,
That's
and I think of that about just anybody in that community who really likes something. When you find that, it's just kind of this wonderful immediate connection that you guys can share in. I think that's why I like Morriscon and other things like that.
Totally. Well, there's a huge, it's like it's a community based on passion and like all these, um, living situations and everything aside, people can connect
Hmm.
on, based on fandom, and that's awesome.
Yeah, and usually you cling to the fandom that kind of speaks to your inner weirdness or your inner interests and things like that anyway.
Hmm.
And so when you find someone else like that, you think, I bet they like this like I do too. It's just kind of, if they like this, I know they would like this, and that means they're this kind of person, and that's the kind of person I can get behind. That's kind of fun.
It is. Well, and I mean, and the fantasy worlds of all different kinds is, basically what it is. And fantasy is, it's magic and it's wondrous, but it's also all based on real emotions and comes from real places. So it's almost like sometimes it feels like a safe place to connect because you've got this interest in common ground, but at the same time, there's real stuff there.
Yeah. Yeah, and when I write fantasy, it does have a lot of that undertone of something to connect with that goes beyond fantasy. And that's because my favorite fantasy authors do that. They have these kind of undertones of things that aren't preachy, they're just there. This idea of being a struggling teen, or this idea of being a girl in a man's world, or this
Mhm.
idea of depression, or this idea of any of those things, equality. They have these undertones, and you know that if you enjoy that, and somebody else enjoys that too, in that book, enjoys that book, that there's this other deeper level you're connecting at, and that's what makes fandom so amazing. You're right. It's just it is that connection, but it's also the underlying connections. And I don't. That's why I like working on Worldcon. I'm writing descriptions right now for Worldcon's panels, and I love it because then I get to see what everyone's interested in, and I get to have fun with the things they love. So
That's
and make
awesome.
them sound interesting, and they are interesting.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it is fun.
I know I've been successfully, the first few times didn't go so well, but I've been successfully playing Worlds of Warcraft with my husband. Um, and I think part of why, it didn't go well was, the first time we tried it was in the fall, and that was just a really dark time for me. And
Yeah.
I couldn't really hold on to anything other than just working. And then the other time we tried, this big computer ended up on my writing desk and it didn't work. But now it's going really well. We're both on dead characters and we're on level 15. And it's been a
Nice.
really fun way to kind of just spend time together outside of, what we do as partners.
Yeah.
We're just
Well,
we're at
you as partners are more. What are responsibilities that are kind of separate? That's not the same as, hey, let's connect with this thing that we
Mhm.
can both do.
Totally. Let's be undead and just, take our swords out.
Let's be nerds together.
Yeah.
Great. I will. Yeah. Most of the time, it's funny. People are like, I don't know how to hang out with my husband. I do. I know what to do. And we leave sometimes. We go to symposiums. We go to museums. I told him, look, the things that we like to do are so nerdy. I said, and that's why I picked you. I'm not saying that in a disparaging way. I'm saying you know how to have fun the way I like to have fun, and that's pretty important. Because we have to do all this other boring stuff. So if you can also play World of Warcraft, go for it.
Yes.
Now I don't because I wouldn't stop doing it.
Well,
But
and it's actually funny because, like, I was, and like sometimes I don't think I'm just very good at having fun because it's like, well,
because you're competitive.
no, it's just because like it's like I'm trying to think of like I'm so task oriented sometimes. So I'm like, well, I don't have time for fun right now. So I
Maybe
think
a three.
that was part of what was like, keeping me from like having fun playing this game.
Sure. I don't have
Um,
time for this. Yeah. No, I agree. I feel that way sometimes. Like, oh, I should be doing something else right now. Yeah.
so I don't know, like almost a full month ago, I made an appointment, a tattoo appointment for myself for Mother's Day.
Right.
That's my special present, and I'm working off my shoulder and going into a sleeve, and
Yeah, I saw some of it. It's looking good.
I'm so excited. Um,
Yeah.
and but I needed to like send Marco, my tattoo artist, a description of what's next and some images for him to, get an idea. I've been like not doing it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, I got to do this one more thing. And I finally sat down. I'm like, no, you're doing this because it's like now it's in like a week and a half.
Yeah. Kind of needs to know. Needs to plan for this stuff.
Well, it's like a weird thing to not let myself make time for, but I'm pretty excited.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Maybe this probably doesn't sound weird to you because you obviously liked getting a tattoo or you wouldn't do it again. But it's me time. I know that some people go to spas. I know that some people do. I don't know. I don't know what other girls do. Some people do other things to make them relax. I don't know why, but I feel relaxed when I'm at the tattoo
I
parlor.
love it. Same here.
And I told him that he's my tattoo artist is downright honest. He's like, no, tattooing hurts and it sucks. I was like, but it doesn't to me.
Yeah.
Like it's just I don't have to do anything but sit here.
Yeah.
And it's so relaxing. And then I get pretty art on me, and I have an appointment next Wednesday to fill in my Maurice Sendak
Oh,
lower arm
nice.
stuff. And he's like, you really doesn't even look like it phases you. I'm over here stabbing you for 4 hours in a row, and just kind of like, and you're having the best time, and you're singing when the songs are on there. It's like I have to tell you, after childbirth, whatever. I said, this is relaxing. I get to be by myself for 4 hours. I said, I realize you're here, but you're working.
No,
I
I
just want to
agree.
hang.
It's amazing. I love it. I love it. And I'm with you. It's relaxing. And then it's like afterwards too. I'm like, oh, like my last appointment was my birthday.
Mm.
And I was done with it. And I was like, I just felt awesome. I had this
Yeah.
art, I had all this time in this cool place with this cool music.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, and I think it helps to have a nice place to go to. Like, I like the place I go. I like the personality of my tattoo artist. I like the people around. And Face is a nice area. And the windows are open. I can just people watch and sit. Yeah, and
Nice.
you,
Yeah.
and you get something awesome at the end of it. You get a little piece of art that's always going to be there.
Mhm.
And you don't have to move it like you have to move other art.
Yeah,
It just comes with you.
it's true. And plus it makes buying certain shirts really fun. Like I found some
It does.
racerback tank tops that like really accentuate my tattoo and I'm like, "Sweet."
Yeah, I'm not a person who usually was like, oh, I'm going to show my arms all the time. Well, I am now.
Yeah,
They're awesome now. So it's not even that I didn't like my arms before, just like I didn't have a reason to be.
totally.
And I'm kind of a layered type person. Like
Same
I'm just
here.
gonna buy lots of sweaters and wear lots of sweaters,
Uh-huh.
and that works when we're hibernating. But in the nicer months, now I can have something to show for it, and that's kind of cool. And I didn't have to do push-ups like to make my arms look cool. I probably should, but I do like being fit. I'm not gonna lie. I do like doing those things. But I was like, I didn't have to do anything except sit there, and now my arm looks awesome. That's kind of fun.
Actually, uh you shared it not too long ago on Facebook. It was like a list of different bookish tattoos.
Yeah.
I actually I pulled one of those images. Marco's going to incorporate into part of the picture on my sleeve, as
Ooh,
I'm
which
going to
one?
have the falling books
Oh, I love those ones.
and
Yeah,
birds
that's one of
and
my favorites.
a
Yeah.
secret door in clouds. I'm super.
So, are the books going to be flying or falling?
They're going to be they're going to be falling from birds and stars.
Wow. Okay. I'm very interested in seeing how it turns out.
Me too.
Yeah. I liked the ones where the books were falling. I liked the one. It was a really simple one. It was on the guy's arm and it had the books that were flying like birds.
Yes, I saw that
It's
too.
beautiful. And I was just like,
Hmm.
I don't know why. But I both like birds and books, so maybe
Same.
that's why I like it so much. It's like, oh, it looks so free to have a book like that.
Yes.
Do anything. I don't know why it was so stunning to me, but it was.
No, that one stuck out to me too.
I liked
Um,
the spine one. I don't have much of a spine, but if I did, that'd be a good one.
yeah, that one was really cool.
Hmm.
Um, there was also a couple of quotes there that were cool.
Hmm.
There's that one, and honestly, I've been looking at so many pictures lately for tattoos that I don't know that if this was in the post that you sent or just something that in the I get lost in
Oh
Pinterest
yeah,
sometimes.
Pinterest. Yeah, I have
Yep.
a tattoo one just for. I have a tattoo Pinterest board. I'll have to look at yours if you have one.
I'm gonna have to look at yours.
Maybe I should actually.
Um, but there's one really cool one, and it's just like taking up a good portion of a thigh, and it says, "Not all that wander who are, not
Not
everyone that
all
want."
will wander lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good old J.R.R. Tolkien.
Mhm.
That's my first sleeve is J.R.R. Tolkien. Not the words, just the Hobbit.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the one that I liked? I was going to get. I love that one. I was going to get like a type around my arm to finish the book sleeve that I have going on that just says "Live many lives, read,"
Nice.
because I always felt like I was a great traveler
Mhm.
because I was such a nerdy reader as a kid. Um, and
That's
there's a quote about that, and I can't remember the exact quote. I just thought, oh, if I wanted something small around my wrist, that would be a good one. And I wanted to put the live right over my wrist because of suicide awareness.
oh
And so
nice.
it would say live right there, and then many lives read, just kind of going around my wrist. So I'll probably end my tattoo with that, but
That's awesome.
it always reminds me of my passion, which is reading. I have to stick around. I have to read more books.
Yeah.
And that's dumb, but when I was younger, that actually did help to know that I had a list of books I hadn't yet read, and I couldn't be depressed enough to not pick up that book.
Yeah. No, that doesn't sound dumb at all. I mean, if I don't even know how I would have gone through some of the stuff that I went through growing up without having that escape, without learning that Matilda
Mm.
also, Matilda, man, whew,
Yeah, she got out of the worst of circumstances and did so through reading and through, knowledge and just gaining her own power.
yeah,
Yeah. That's a very powerful. It's one of my daughter's favorite books, and I'm just thrilled that it is.
but
You can't get better than that book.
you can't. No,
Not as a
one of
little
my
girl, especially. It's very empowering.
it is very empowering, and even despite all different situations, it's a great book to read when you're younger. It's just a really good portrayal of how you can just decide who you want to be.
Yep. Yeah, that was one of my favorites. It still is.
My daughter actually just finished reading Alice in Wonderland,
Oh, great.
and she is forever changed.
Yeah, and great books like that'll do that for you.
Hmm.
It was The Hobbit for me, and then I loved Alice in Wonderland. I loved Matilda. Tamara Pierce's books changed me forever. I was a forever fantasy reader after Tamara Pierce.
Those I there's certain stories and as that they just stay with you, and it's awesome. It's
Hmm.
so cool.
Hmm. Yeah, I love seeing my kids do that now. It makes me pretty happy.
It is cool to see them get into stuff. I'm for I read to my kids. I try to read every night. As our
Yeah.
lives get busier, it doesn't happen every night, but
Hmm.
I am reading Hobbit to my daughter and the first Harry Potter to my son.
Nice.
And they're both getting, interested in those worlds and looking forward to reading them with me. And it's fun to see them explore.
Yeah. Yeah, my favorite thing is when people message me to ask me what book their kid should next read because this is the book they liked. And because I read almost any genre and I read almost any age group just because I'm interested in things for no, it's not even for my kids. I just like reading little kid books. I do. I love reading young adult. I like middle grade books. I read all books.
Oh, same
I
here.
read adult books too.
A
Um,
good story is a good story.
Good story is good story, and there's some great, just fantastic kids authors who maybe are even more impressive than some of the adult authors that I read. Just for the way that they can make this book that's so important fit into the hands of a child and have this child just eat it up and want more. And so I love that. I love when people ask me what should my 10-year-old son read. Oh, okay. Well, you have you have time. I will actually call you today. Um,
That's awesome. I don't books
so
are
yeah.
books are that subject for me too. Like when somebody starts talking talking about them, or I can even catch a whiff of a conversation. They don't have to be talking to me. I'm like, yes, let's talk books. Let's do this.
Yeah.
I'm Jayme,
Comic
and these are
books.
my favorite genres.
Yes, it was pretty funny actually. My best friend and cousin messaged me and said, "Okay, so my 10-year-old son tried to start reading monochrome because he liked the cover, and then he started liking the writing inside." And I told him, "You can't read that book because it drops the f bomb and has some
Yeah.
violence and sex and stuff like that." So yeah, so that was a no. So she said, "Do you have anything that you wrote that little kids can read?" And so I was like, "Well, my website has Adela Darkin, but I will write him a book." And so that's my new goal, is to finish the young adult book I'm working on now so he can read it. And
Nice.
so his mom can be like, "She's my best friend, but you can't write her stuff. You can't read her stuff." I'm sorry. That's a no on that one. I was like, "You can read my website, but I'll make him something."
I know I have my daughter, and she keeps wanting to read, and highly capable, and she's like, "Okay, mom, if they make a movie out of it and I'm not old enough to see it, you're
Right.
gonna let me see the movie, right?" I'm like, "Yes, Charlotte, if they make a movie out of it,
You can
yeah,
read
you
it.
can watch the movie."
You get a tattoo of it
Yes.
if they make a movie of it, sweetheart.
Um, but she's always like, "When are you gonna
Bite your
write?"
tongue. It's gonna be next year, and you're like, "Dang it."
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, she'll hold it to me, but
She will.
um, but yeah, she's always letting me know, like, you could, if you, I don't know if you're a good writer. I would say you're my favorite author, but you don't write for kids.
I can't even know that, mom, and
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I started writing young adult too, because monochrome is just so. My daughter wanted me to read it to her, and she's 5. I'm like, no, that's all right. Like, no, that's okay. And so I started writing my shorts online that are for youngish to older kids, and she likes those, and she can read them. There's nothing that's gonna make me sad. I mean, the lady dies; she's undead, but she's fine. And so I was like, well, she dies, but she's fine. And my daughter completely goes with it. She's like, okay. She's dead, but she's still the heroine of her novel, and she still does things. She's like, okay, good. She a zombie? Not really. No, I wouldn't say that. Like, she doesn't do zombie type things. She's just poisoned, but she's fine. And so after that was established, she has a good time having me read her the things that I do. But honestly, together, I know her favorite author is the people who do Girl Genius, because I read her Girl Genius now, and she told me, "You should write things like this." Whatever you're doing is not working as well as Girl Genius, Mom. You really should do that instead. Like, well, honey, the folios are already doing that. Mommy can't copy them. It's nice that Sheila has that, though. And I agree,
That's
they're
funny.
very good. So just Girl Genius is what I should be doing. I should stop wasting my time with everything else. And I agree with her. That would be awesome.
I'm writing that down now because I remember you mentioning it last time, and I wanted to check it out.
And it's online, and they do free online ones every couple, you know, every week. And it's just, yeah, she loves them. She just loves them. But you can buy the books too. And I do, just because she likes to read them before school. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll check that out.
might as well have something else that you have to add to your fun list.
Totally. Well, no, I'm trying to add more things to my fun list.
Yeah,
Fun and happiness
hey,
should be
I think
sought.
it's fun and happy.
Hmm.
I have a good time reading it.
That's awesome.
And I actually would say that they're probably too old for her, but she doesn't get half the jokes that are too old for her, so it works out all right.
Yeah, well, that 5, 6 seems to be the age where that happens, and now like some of the stuff that interests my 8-year-old, it's like I have to stop and think. Like I part of like my mom like wanting to just like put her in a bubble and protect her from
Yeah,
everything. I want to be like, no, that's not appropriate. And it's like, well,
but
slow down a second and just think about it. It's tough.
I think for me, I just usually lay it out there, and I'm like, by the way, I don't endorse you act this way.
That's basically what I'm doing. I
Just have
mean,
a good dialogue with your
it
kids.
seems to be the way that works. I mean, even like My husband and I don't watch our language all the time, and my daughter doesn't hold a lot of interest in cursing, but my son thinks it's hysterical.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, just don't do it at school.
Yeah, you get in trouble if you do that at school, kids. So
Yeah,
just be aware of the social norms.
exactly.
Social norms would say that I'm a terrible mom, so just be aware of that. Mom
Keep me
doesn't
out
get
of trouble and we're all good, kids.
Yeah, I think I'm probably with you there. And I cuss a lot in class, and I don't mean to. Just sometimes I get passionate, and cussing comes out. And
Totally.
I tell people, I said, if you're offended, too bad you're adults. That's why I don't teach kindergartners, because they don't like you to cuss when you're teaching kindergartners.
Oh my gosh, I know. I was helping out in my son's classroom today. I go there 1 hour a week and just kind of help out. And I was thinking, like, I do not have the patience for this gig.
This is not what I would do.
No. And it's
Good
just
thing
like,
I'm better at other things.
yeah, there's a couple times where I was just like, I just wanted to like tell everyone, just be quiet.
Yeah. Blessed be teachers, honestly, from young kids. There's no way. Nope. No, I think teaching my own kid different. Teaching everybody else's kid would not do it.
Well, there's a big difference there. Like, I think,
Yeah.
we all have our days, but I'm pretty good with my own kids, but
Sure.
other people's kids, I don't think I'm very good with them.
Yeah, and it's nothing against their kids. It's just
No.
I love my kid, and so I deal with the things that I don't like. They have things I don't like that they're doing, and sometimes they do them on purpose. But I find the patience for them, because that's my job.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make it my job to find the patience for your child. I'm just not. It's not. I'm glad that there are people out there who do, and I think that
Yes,
those
I second
deserve
that.
to be paid really, really, really well, much better than they're being paid.
Oh, absolutely. And like, showered with some like magical wands
Sure, be given a
and,
trip to Hogwarts.
floating snacks that arrive to them when they're hungry. But yeah,
Right.
no.
And gold. Yeah, no, maybe I could swing it if those were the perks.
I think I could teach other people's dogs.
Sure.
I'm really good with dogs,
Yeah.
but
I don't know. I don't know if I could do that. I like my dog. Maybe chickens. I love the chickens. They're so fun. Having a good time with them. They're not making any eggs, which is a little bit lazy on their part, but I still like them.
well, that's good. Does it take? I don't know. How long does it
I
take
don't know.
chickens to do the egg thing?
I don't know. They're big now. I just tell them every day. So any eggs for me? No. Okay. Here's some stuff. Here's some food. Good job not doing your work, but you're cute. So
Maybe they're demanding a story be written about them first.
I don't know what they want. I feed them all sorts of goodies. They're spoiled and fat. They should be giving me eggs by now, but they're not. And they can't be stew anymore because I like them.
Yeah.
They,
Well, I have some pretty awesome stew
yeah.
recipes.
Like, just in case they never do lay eggs, you can hang my
I
recipes
can
over their
work
head.
wonders with cranberries. It's all I'm saying.
It's like
Cranberries and mushrooms. Awesome combo.
it's called Jayme, and she'll whisper threats at them. They lay eggs.
Totally. Yeah. I'll sneak in the behind the chicken coop and like start like talking about recipes and stuff.
We should. I'm okay with doing that. Get him on board.
Yeah, that won't be creepy for you and your family at all.
Maybe not for me, but I'm a little bit of a weirdo. I'm not going to say the same for my husband. He probably wouldn't appreciate me speaking on his behalf. Tell your weird friends to come here and threaten our chickens. Sorry.
Yeah, start. Yeah, just come with a big wagon of cookbooks.
Yeah.
Up next, chicken and dumplings. Ready to do eggs yet?
Okay. No,
Right
we should probably double up and make a kids book about this.
Yes. Let's do that. That sounds awesome.
I'll illustrate it with dumb pictures of my weird chickens. You can tell me the lines that you would use on
Awesome.
them. On that note, my husband has to get to bed, so I should probably go. But I'm just so thankful that you asked me on again. You're just so much fun to talk to.
Oh, you're so much fun to talk to, and thank you so much for coming on. It was great having you.
No problem. And anytime you need a reader for Ruby, you just let me know.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. And right back at you. I enjoy reading your stuff so much.
It's gonna be a while. No, I'm just kidding. I promise to write some stuff.
Well, whatever it is.
I hope none of my
Let
fans
the
listen to
process
this
take
because they're gonna be so mad at me.
no. Hey, what did I say about the chickens? No, everybody let Hannah have the time that she needs. It'll be good.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. No. All right. I have a plan tomorrow to write. We'll see how it goes.
Well, I hope it goes well. And thanks so much for coming on. Real quick before you leave, can
Mm.
you tell people where to find you?
You can find me at www.hmjones.net, and I'm at hmjoneswrites on Twitter. And pretty much if you put in HM Jones, you find me. So Google me, or Bing me, though. Honestly, who really bings anyone?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Hannah.
No problem. I'll talk to you later, Jayme.
Well, that was fun talking to Hannah. And yeah, good times. Thanks for listening, everybody. And you can tune in next week. I'm going to have author and poet Dane Cobain on the show. You can follow the show on Twitter at Too Many Words Pod. Follow me on Twitter at Me Bedingfield. Go to my site, JaymeTheScribbler.com, to find out about my books, upcoming events, all sorts of good stuff. And remember to look for Elliot Granger and the Clueless Brigade, the podcast. The first 5 episodes actually are going to be available to you on Friday. That's 4:30. And the 5th episode will come out on Saturday. So thanks, guys, so much for listening. You like what I'm doing here. Reviews, subscribe, help me out. You guys are awesome. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you next week.